evening, Top fans. Bill from Top Fan Rivalry here again with another clubhouse with some of my good friends, Dave and Jackson and John. Tonight, we're going to be talking about a plethora of topics. Obviously, Dave is our resident White Sox guy. Jackson is our resident Braves fan, and John is our resident Angels fan, though he's not showing it, repping it right now. And of course, you've got your world champion Dodgers here. So we're going to get started tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about what the MLB is doing and the MLB PA and what we've heard. Also, we're going to have some fun times talking about trade rumors and transactions. And then we'll go into a fun little topic that we've all discussed offline tonight, and that is our favorite memories of going to games. So I hope you enjoy this little conversation. Hope you can laugh at us a little bit. We're having a good time doing it, and enjoy. Feel free to subscribe. Feel free to like us, and we'll have some more of these. Hopefully we'll get more to join. So that being said, let's get started with you, Dave. Do tell, what do we know about the MLB and the MLB PA, and what have you heard? What have you read? I heard very little today. I was quite busy with work.
Yeah, so what we talked about last time when it just came out was that the mayors of all the spring training sites had sent a letter to the MLB asking them to delay spring training and push everything out till the second or third week of March. And it's interesting for this week because there were more developments. Obviously, there was a proposal by the MLB to do that, to move everything back a few weeks and to cut 8 games off the schedule and a bunch of other things. But what I found out was that, and this was not through some crazy, skilled investigating or anything. I was just sitting in the bleachers talking to an agent and who's got the ear of a lot of players. And basically what he said is the MLB staged those letters from the mayors that they wanted to delay this and they wanted the support of the mayors. So they asked the mayors to write that letter. They probably wrote it for them and had them sign it. And then he said that their proposal's dead before it's even going to get read. I mean, nobody wants to give the commissioner that much power, and they don't want their salaries cut. So if he starts cutting games, then he has the power to cut their salaries, and they're not going to do that. So basically, the way this sits is that they have a collective bargaining agreement, and it says that they start on time, and that's what they're going to do.
Okay, and what did you think it was interesting that they tried to use 154?
I don't know anything behind that. I have no idea. It's really a jam-packed season. They threw the DH back in there, and I forget what else. Expanded playoffs.
Expanded playoffs.
Yeah.
So the 154 was what the season was up until 1961, and so I thought it was significant that they tried to go back to that. But that's interesting that it's DOA, and I mean the 154 games versus 162 would have been suffice, but I mean, and they were getting full pay from what I understand. But man, if they stage those letters from the mayors, can you imagine? Can you imagine that comes out and how that plays?
Well, and it's hearsay. No one can prove that, but that's what I was told. And the reality of the matter is that all these spring training facilities here in Phoenix are open, and there are players there. I don't care what the reporting dates are. There's guys that are working out. There's 12, 15, 18 guys there already at every one of them.
Yeah. Well, and they've got to. I mean, a lot of these guys aren't getting the contracts that they thought that they would get or hoped that they would get because of COVID. And so now they've got to they've got to bring their A game immediately. Right? I mean, especially guys like Trevor Bauer who are trying to get that big deal, right? And so he's got to bring his A game from the first pitch of the first inning of the first game that he has. Sorry, I got something knocked over here. Jackson, what anything to add on the MLB
PA? I just thought it was really interesting that they're floating a full season with expanded playoffs. I obviously think that the owners and the commissioner are looking for more revenue, but I don't like the expanded playoffs. I don't like. It's the same reason I don't like basketball playoffs or football playoffs. I feel just too many teams make it sometimes, and it just becomes a hassle to watch the playoffs at a certain point because you You got to watch the first couple of rounds of teams just getting kind of stomped by the big teams.
Well, if we keep pushing it back, right, we're gonna watch the Lions lose on Thanksgiving every year like we normally do, and then the 7th game of the World Series, right? If we keep pushing it back. So, John, thoughts on the MLBPA?
Well, there's two thoughts for expanded playoffs for Angel fans. One, we want everyone to make it so we can make it one year. And then two, obviously after 162 games, you don't want you don't want all these teams to make it, because that's the whole point of having 162 games, is to separate the wheat from the chaff. So I'm with you guys. I want the normal 162 games, and I want the normal playoff teams, and we got the wild cards already in there, so that's probably good enough.
Yeah, I stand by what I said last week. I struggle with this whole thing because at the end of the day, you could have a team that, I mean, with the expanded playoffs, you could have a team that wins 102 games, and then they draw a team that's under 500, and that under 500 team, a ground ball goes wrong and they win game 1 of that best of 3 series, and then the next night that 102 season or win team has a bad night and they're out. And then last year you had the Brewers against the Dodgers, and that was the scariest series for me, because I mean the Dodgers were poised to have a potential to make a good run, right? And you can't make a good run if you lose the first 2 games of the Brewers. So that expanded playoff things. I will tell you though, I'm not against the universal DH. I think that it kind of moves the game along a little quicker, because you have you have hitters up there all the time. I'm not against that, but John's right. Everybody makes the play. 16 teams out of 30. You feel kind of bad when you're not the team that makes it in, right? So, what did everybody think about all the trades and all the transactions this week? I mean, boy, did Toronto not load themselves up, or what?
Yeah, I mean, Toronto did a lot without giving up a lot.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
yeah, it remains to be seen if they can put that into a team and actually play on the field. Looks good on paper.
Yep. Do you think that they have a chance to win that NL East? I mean, or do you still think that that's kind of the Yankees to lose?
I think they'll make it a fight.
Yeah, I think they got a shot. I don't think the Yankees are that great, truth be told.
Yeah. And Tanaka just agreed to go back to Japan, so the Yankees just lost their number 1 pitcher, right? And so, I mean,
well not getting Garrett Cole.
Cole's pretty good.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about Garrett. I'm sorry. Garrett Cole's average, right? He's okay.
If he's their number 2, then the Yankees are in good shape.
I totally forgot about Garrett Cole. It's because he only pitched a half a season with these guys. Oh man. See what happens when the cat's flying around here and I forget about Garrett Cole. And that's for everybody to remember. Garrett, if you ever watch this, my apologies.
He's no Alex Cobb. We know that.
Yeah, that's true. And the Angels picked up a pitcher today.
They're about to lose their pitching coach, though.
Oh,
Mickey Callaway's got some women after him, some lewd and inappropriate stuff going on. I guess at the Mets organization that they do these sort of things. I don't know what's going on in the Mets organization, but for the last 5 years, I guess Mickey's on the list now, and I think the Angels will probably by tomorrow probably let him go, which might be a good thing if the Angels want Trevor Bauer, because they're out on Trevor Bauer if they still have Mickey Callaway. But if Mickey Callaway's gone, then maybe they're back in on Trevor Bauer. But
what's the issue there?
They hate each other pretty much from the past. Some, they don't agree on different things that I forget where
they crossed paths in the Indians organization, because Callaway was there until 17.
And they had different philosophies, and obviously Trevor Bauer's a pretty outspoken guy, and he believed in like long toss and different types of strategy when it comes to pitching. And I think Mickey Callaway was more analytical, and they butted heads. And I think just like I was like a week ago or maybe a few days ago, the Angels like, we're out on Bauer. And I think probably Bauer told them, as long as you have Callaway, I'm not coming. But I don't know. Those are rumors, but I know Mickey Callaway's on the short list here as far as pitching coaches go.
Yep.
If you believe the rumors.
And
So.
the rumors say that Trevor wants to play in Southern California, and the Dodgers may pay him, but
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I mean,
he's obviously from here and wants probably to come back here, but
he's no Alex Cobb.
yeah.
but
Angels
he-
have I don't know. The Angels have like 7 number 4s now. So who knows? But they're kind of up against the luxury tax too, with Alex Cobb's contract. And I don't know if they were to get Bauer, then they would obviously go over that. And I don't know if Artie's willing to do that. So my guess is no matter what, they probably won't get him, but you never know. Maybe they'll call him up and say, well, who do you want to be your pitching coach? And he'll probably say me.
well,
Says here the Orioles are eating half of Cobb's salary.
Oh, so that's
really.
good.
So how about the deal that sent Nolan to the Cardinals?
Yeah, look at the haul that the Rockies got out of there, right? I mean, they got some great prospects.
They got some
Being
great prospects.
sarcastic. I'm being sarcastic. They got
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah, they got some great prospects and paid $50 million to get rid of a potential Hall of Famer.
Well, the 50 million is a little misleading because it's partially money and it's partially deferrals by Nolan. So
Yeah.
it's not real money. He's going to get paid later. So,
Well,
but it's still, I mean, you asked me if I would take that deal right now for any team I follow. Absolutely. He gave up nothing.
fungo bats and batting practice balls.
Players to be named later.
Yeah. I mean, Nolan.
Have the Cardinals ever gotten the bad end of any deal? It seems
Doesn't seem like it.
They're always on the smart end of any deal,
Yeah.
usually at the Angels' expense.
I mean, Nolan's no Alex Cobb, but I mean, I guess the Cardinals will take him, right?
Yeah.
The Angel fans, speaking of that, John, you no longer can get, you lost out on Jock Peterson last year in that trade, but now he's going to Chicago.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know if that's so much of a loss, but
hey, he
he's
can hit right-handers.
he hits home runs sometimes.
Yeah, he's great in the offseason, the postseason.
He's good in the
So-
home run derby.
So, Dave,
Did you see all of the chatter about the fact that the White Sox offered him 10 million and he was holding out for more, so they let him walk, and now he's getting 7 million from the Cubs. It's brilliant.
I did not hear that.
That's some top tier agent work right there by his
Yeah,
agent.
it's
Yeah.
absolute brilliance.
Yeah, that's
How does he
That's-
think he can get more than 10 million in this environment? How could he possibly think that?
He's basically Kyle Schwarber, but he can field at this point.
Still, I mean,
Yeah.
how are you a plus $10 million player at that point? You're just not.
He's a platoon guy
not.
too. He doesn't play every day.
Yeah.
Can't hit lefties, and on occasion he'll hit a really far home run, which looks good. But if you, I don't know, Bill will probably say, I mean, if you watch the guy every day, it's kind of
Yeah.
frustrating probably.
it's very frustrating because he had a season a couple seasons ago. It might have been 17 or 18. Our resident Jackson can look this up for us, but the 17 or 18, he had a really good season where he had a decent average, but he hit a lot of bombs. But last year, and granted, a lot of guys started out really slow, but last year, I don't think he hit more than 220. And the Dodgers had no room for him. And honestly, you know, unless he learns how to hit left-handers, he's not very much fun to watch. I mean, he will hit that bomb on occasion that will, you know, will go 420 feet. But I mean, I think it was 2017 where he hit either 1 or 2 home runs on opening day, and that was kind of his season. And after that, there was nothing to say.
Yeah, well, I wasn't too disappointed that he chose the other side of town. And, you know, the Cubs MO, they're right back to it, is don't invest in pitching and throw somebody out there in the outfield that hits a lot of home runs to keep the drunks happy.
That's spoken like a true Chicagoan.
It's the truth.
Yeah, it's and Rob even admitted this last week, right? The Cubs are in a weird position because they've got a bunch of older guys, and I'm not saying old guys, but they got a bunch of guys that are getting older, the Chris Bryants, the Anthony Rizzos that have been there for a while, and they're not getting young talent, and they're not drafting the young talent, they're not trading for the young talent, and
They
so
traded away all their young talent.
right,
They went for a World Series and they got it.
yeah. But you know, Cubs fans might be waiting a long time to get one.
They traded away a good chunk of their talent after that World Series to try to keep it going. I mean, 2 of those guys are on the South Side now, and Dylan Cease will be at least better than Alex Cobb, and Eloy will hit his share of home runs, probably as good or better than Jock Peterson. So,
I wish I had
And-
those 2 guys. Those guys are
and
nice.
now you've got Jose Quintana in Anaheim. So,
He's going to be awesome.
contain yourself.
John, just calm down just a bit. Don't go too crazy.
I was sizing up the rings after we got Quintana, and then today when we got Cobb, it was like two rings on my hand, back-to-back championships, probably.
Does anybody see John being that type of guy, like the Randy Quaid character in Major League 2, going all the way, all the way? We got Quintana.
Quintana.
Oh man, this offseason has been the strangest thing because these players are holding out for big dollars, like you say, Dave. They're just not there because the owners don't know if they're going to be able to have, at least in California, we probably won't see fans in the stands all season. I mean, Florida, different story. You know, I guess in Chicago yesterday, there's a forced mandate for teachers to go back and start educating in the classroom. So maybe the Cubs and White Sox will be able to have fans. Who knows?
Teachers,
say,
powerful.
You know, some of these clubs have deeper pockets than others and have better cash flow than others. And I know the Cubs sold their fans on all those field renovations and their new marquee sports network on the fact that they were going to invest back in the team, and now they're not. So I know that's not going over well.
Dave, you're from Chicago, so tell me. I mean, you go there. Do you go back every year, or how often do you go back?
Yeah, usually.
What was the big brouhaha when they created the new scoreboard and blocked? Was it because they were blocking some of the seating, or
Yeah, they
what was
were
that all
blocking
about?
them rooftops.
Oh, really?
They were blocking the rooftops, and then the rooftop people sued them because they could no longer sell those seats on the rooftops. And then the Cubs just went and bought all those buildings as part of the settlement. They bought all the rooftops.
I don't like this, so I'm just gonna buy it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they redeveloped that whole area. They spent a ton of money, but part of the selling, you know, to the city for zoning and then to the fans is that they're gonna have all these other revenue streams to pound back into the team, and you know, the marquee sports network. So now they're charging, instead of WGN being free all over the country, now you've got it all the way to the other side where you're paying for local games, and it's
Wow.
crazy.
Well, I can't cry too hard for them because for like 5 seasons we couldn't watch Dodger games at all because of that contract that they signed. And I mean, now that we can get the Dodgers network on the AT&T, that's great. But man, there was like 5 years where we couldn't see anything.
And I don't know if you saw last week, there was a news story about, like, you know, the annual one about the fan cost index and who's most expensive, and the Cubs are number one. Everything at their park is the most expensive in the league. tickets, beer, hot dog. It's the most expensive place to see a game.
It reminds me of when we were talking about the stadiums, and Viliami said 3 times in one sentence, food. That's what he likes best about Anaheim Stadium. John, you missed that one, but we were talking about stadiums, and Viliami said, when we came to him and said, what do you like best about Anaheim Stadium? He says the food. 3 times in one sentence.
Somebody likes the food at Anaheim Stadium.
That's
That guy must be. I remember Viami. He definitely likes food anywhere, but if you like the food at Anaheim Stadium, then you haven't gone to very many stadiums.
That's very true. That's very true. But 3 times in one sentence there, so you might. I'll have to send you that link. You'll appreciate that one. That one was fun.
That food is not good, and they don't have a great selection.
Yeah, it's all.
Maybe he gets the big helmet nachos. I guess maybe that's probably it.
Panda Express. Pay $20 for some, chow mein.
I don't even think they have Panda there anymore.
Yeah.
Last time I went.
There you go. So there was a local restaurant, Dave, that used to. Amber and I had some dealings with them, and they did a barbecue thing, and one of the former Angels' sons opened this restaurant, and it was in Costa Mesa. It was a great barbecue, and so he decided that he was, wanted to open up the stadium. He had some connections with the stadium with his dad and everything, and they opened it up. But because of the vendors and the way that the vendors have to interact with, I think it's Airmark or whoever does the stadiums, they couldn't actually do the actual barbecue that they did. So like people were coming, they were seeing the name, but then when they would go to the actual place in Costa Mesa, they're like, this is nowhere near what we were getting at the at the stadium.
I believe it.
So, because you had to train all these people to learn how to do this food. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. It's been a really interesting off season, and I think it's funny that we can talk about stadium food among other things.
What's that tell you about the off season?
Yeah, branching off from the ownership, but I was just thinking, like, this off season's especially weird just because the teams that are on the fringe, everyone's either going all in if they're on the fringe, or they're cashing out. Teams like the Pirates, like the Cubs, teams need to sell, and it's kind of sad. I think we'll see some really bad teams in the next couple of years. I think Baltimore, since they're in the cellar already, like teams like Baltimore, teams like Detroit that are not yet on the rise are just kind of going to stay put. Like the quote unquote bad teams aren't selling. It's the fringe teams that you're going to see hurt the most. I think, it's Cleveland. Yeah. Cleveland's been cutting payroll. The Rockies trading Arenado. I think Trevor Story's next. He's not going to make it through July, probably there. So
No.
They're talking about moving some pitching too.
Yeah, so it's all in or nothing, I guess.
Well, you've got teams, teams like the Blue Jays that went all in, the Padres, the White Sox, went in this offseason. Dodgers didn't do much, but you have some teams that are like Jackson, you nailed it. They're just going all in. The Blue Jays are going to be fun to watch. If they play up to the caliber of team that they are on paper, they're going to be fun to watch. The White Sox play up to that caliber. The Padres play up to that caliber. They're going to be fun to watch. Obviously, the Padres are not going to win the West. They'll miss it by a game or something. I don't know. That's just me being a Dodger.
I think they'll give the Dodgers a fight this year.
They will.
The World Series hangover is real.
The hard part really is depending on how many games there are in the season. So if that 162 stays put, then we're good. But if we go to 154, even down to 100, again, you beat up your own division, and you beat up your own division, right? And then that's it. And so, yeah, that's how you get in the playoffs, right? If you have 30 games or 40 games of your 100 games in your own division.
I don't remember another time in the last few years where like you had really good teams and really bad teams and not a whole lot in the middle.
Yeah.
And a lot of teams just getting fat, playing really bad teams all the time. And I don't remember it ever being like that in the past. Maybe I have a short memory, but it seems like it was more competitive and there's more teams in it toward the end. And I think there's a lot of teams out there that are looking at their division right now going, why not? It's wide open. It hasn't been wide open in years. It's wide open now. So instead of a 5-team division with 2 or 3 of them bowing out, it's really a 2-team race.
Well, and that's the truth with I mean, the Braves are good, but look at what the Mets tried to do. They're trying to buy themselves a team, and I mean, Philadelphia signed Realmuto again, right? And so, but they didn't do anything much. Oh, Didi, they got Didi back
Yeah.
on a 2-year deal.
I will give the Phillies.
Go ahead.
I will give the Phillies credit that they did add to their bullpen, but I don't think they'll improve by much. That rotation's not very good.
Yeah, you look at the Blue Jays. I mean, they're looking at Tampa Bay selling. The Orioles stink. The Red Sox suck. I mean, they're like, well, let's keep the Yankees honest. We might just be able to beat them. Who knows? Why not try?
Yeah.
You know, the only division to me that doesn't have a clear front runner is the AL West. You know, and if somebody were to jump in with both feet, they might just win that thing.
Wait. Alex Cobb's over in the AL West now. Are you kidding me? I mean, isn't that enough? Then John's sizing up the rings.
Well, top to bottom, the AL West might be the worst division in baseball right now. You got Houston's taking a step backwards. Oakland's always kind of okay, like they do good for their team, and Seattle's horrible, and the Angels are a 500 baseball team. So is there like another division that has really no great team?
No, that's kind of what I was saying. There's no front runner.
Yeah.
You know, Houston should be, but they definitely had some losses. They lost Springer, lost who else? And they just signed somebody in the outfield that was really a yawn. I forget who it was.
I mean, they'll be
They
okay.
re-signed Brantley.
They re-signed Brantley, but didn't they lose Gary All as well?
That I haven't heard.
They can maybe
I
win
haven't heard of it.
90 games, probably wins that division.
Yeah. That's probably true. I mean, Texas hasn't made a splash in how long? Right.
When did they trade for Cliff Lee?
Probably when Josh Hamilton was still there.
Don't bring up Josh Hamilton, please. Let's stay away from that guy.
But you just got Alex Cobb.
Josh Hamilton might have been, I know Pujols were a horrible contract, but I think Josh Hamilton probably topped him out as far as
Oh yeah. No doubt.
production versus dollars. And then obviously Gary Matthews Jr. was right up there. Vernon Wells right up there. The lefty pitcher, what was his name?
CJ Wilson.
CJ Wilson's right up there. They see all these like horrible signings that set the Angels back 5 to 8 years.
The one I was thinking of is the Astros signed Steven Souza.
Oh,
That was the yawn. That was the yawn.
That is
that
a
guy's
yawn.
still in baseball.
Yeah.
Wow.
he and Josh Hamilton are roommates.
I don't know what happened to Josh Hamilton. He's probably in jail somewhere.
He is, actually. That there was a story about that recently that he relapsed and
That's
things weren't
sad.
going well for him. Yeah. And everybody, let's leave CJ Wilson alone because he went to my high school and he came in as I was going out. He came in 90. I think he came in 97 or 98, and I had graduated by then.
I mean, he had a decent couple of years, but I don't think he was worth what the Angels gave him.
No. Well, I'm just waiting for the season to start, boys, so that we can talk about, did you see this play or did you see this craziness of whatever? And unfortunately, we don't have that right now. So
I know if they push the season back, I might go crazy at this point.
Yeah, you and me both. I was looking for pitchers and catchers to report on the 15th, and I hope, Dave, I hope you're right. I hope that everybody says.
I saw something the other day about, I thought you guys might have an opinion on that, especially Jackson, but if you had Soto, Acuna, and Tatis where would you rank those guys as far as who'd you want on your team right now? Acuna, Soto, and Tatis.
Ooh.
Ooh. Well, obviously, I'd pick Acuna first, always. I think he's a better overall player than Juan Soto. I think Juan Soto's a great hitter.
So you would go Acuna number 1.
Soto 2, Tatis 3. I mean, a lot of people pick Tatis just because he's a shortstop, but I don't believe in positional value.
Yeah.
You just take the best player.
So you have Acuna and Soto over Tatis.
Yeah.
As far as baseball acumen.
Yeah.
What about you guys? You guys do the same order?
I don't know the players that well. I would, knowing what I know, I would just swap out Soto and Tatis. I'll go Acuna, Tatis, and Soto. I give the shortstop a little more value.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with Dave, except for Juan Soto's a Dodger killer, so I mean, there's some personality there. I mean, granted, we don't have Alex Cobb on our team, but we might get through that.
But baseball's in
But,
good hands though with those 3 guys, I think, and
mhm.
obviously a bunch of other guys right there too. But you have those 3 guys in their early 20s taking the mantle. They're all in the National League, unfortunately, but there's probably a few American League guys that can move this forward here.
Yeah, there's a couple on the Blue Jays. There's a couple on the White Sox. I'm sure
Yeah.
I'm forgetting somebody in a few other spots too.
Well, Robert for the White Sox. I mean, that guy, how old's that guy, Dave? He's not that old, is he?
22, 23.
Yeah.
Eloy's pretty young too. Eloy Jimenez. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
Eloy's a hitter though. Eloy's not a defensive player, so it's going to keep his wins above replacement down.
Yep.
Keep in mind too, Aaron Judge is still in his 20s. I mean, and if he can stay healthy,
Injury prone guy, right?
yeah, he can do some damage if he could stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, these younger guys that are coming up, and Bryce Harper's still in his 20s. Right?
Yeah, so is Trout,
Yep. I mean, those guys have the last 2 names right there are first ballot Hall of Famers, as it goes. And I was looking at Trout's numbers the other day, and if he stayed on pace, with average decline and things like that, he's actually got a shot for Barry Bonds as well. And 3,000 hits, 770 home runs or so.
What's crazy is that obviously the Angels have Trout, but they also might potentially have the best overall third baseman in the league,
Mm-hmm.
and yet they're still a 500 team. It's crazy, right? I mean, you have like a once in a generation player on your team in his prime, and you have another guy who, Bregman, Rendon, like they're right there head to head, and they are 2 on the same team, right? And you still can't play 500 baseball. It's weird.
Yeah, that's true. When Rendon went to the Angels, I thought, well, maybe this will be enough, right? And Joe Madden, he's changed the dynamic a little bit, and it may take him a year or 2 to get the ship righted, but he'll get him there.
Just a few more pajama parties for him, and it'll be fine.
says the guy that his manager needs to take a nap at noon because he's pretty sleepy. Right.
That's all right. He's got everybody else out doing everything for him.
That's true. That's true. That is so true. Well, boys, as we're wrapping up, give us 30 to 45 seconds of one of your favorite memories of going to a stadium and watching a game. Whether, like I said, whether it was with your dad, whether it's with your kids, whether it's just because of who was playing, but something that you remember that you'd be willing to share. Dave, we'll start with you.
So I'll give you 2. One of them's not at a stadium, but my son was born in 2005 when the White Sox won the World Series. And it's always a memory that he'll never remember because he was an infant, but he laid with me all through August and watched the White Sox beat the crap out of the Red Sox and Yankees at home and away. And my best memory is when Paul Konerko hit the grand slam against the Astros. He was sleeping and I had to run out of the house before I could yell. So I did a dead sprint right out the front door so I could go in the middle of the street and scream. So that was one. The other one is the wild card game here in Arizona a couple of years ago against the Rockies. I don't know if you remember that game, but Archie Bradley hit a triple and got things going, and it was back and forth. 4-0, 4-4, 7-4, 8-7. It was a crazy game. But if Archie Bradley hits a triple, and I'm sitting right by third base when he comes in, and then he starts firing up the crowd, it was something. It was the best game I've been to at Chase Field for sure. It was a heck of a game.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Jackson.
A couple stick out. I remember one from my childhood when we saw the Braves play the Padres at Qualcomm Stadium. Oh, there's a throwback for everyone. I believe Tony Gwynn played in that game. Went to a good Angels-Indians game that I've referenced previously, but I think my favorite game of all time. I went with my dad. It was in 2017. We went down, and it was just me and my dad that went to a game at Petco Park, Braves Padres, and we bought the nosebleeds because we didn't care. We're just there to see our team play, and we get approached by someone who works at the stadium who asked us to take a survey and sign up for a Padres newsletter, and they'll give us a ticket upgrade. That's going, maybe this will move us down to like instead of up in the nosebleeds, we'll be down in like the second tier seats. It won't be bad. Ended up being 10 rows behind home plate. And got to watch a fantastic game. Sean Newcomb pitched in that game. And I think it was his major league debut or his second start of his career. And he threw like 6 or 7 innings of solid baseball. It was just all around fun time. Petco's just a great place to watch a game. It's even better when you're watching your team.
Yeah, that's one of those experiences you just like, I will just sleep here. These seats are so good. I'll just sleep here. I'll be here for tomorrow night's game too. That's awesome. Now he's no Alex Cobb, but it was a good game to watch, right?
It was a great game. Jim Johnson came in and gave everyone a heart attack at the end of the game, but
there you go. John, what are your favorite memories or a couple of your favorite memories?
Yeah, I have two. When I was younger, I think it was like 1986. I was 14 years old. We were out in the center field bleachers watching the Angels. They were getting crushed, and we hardly ever leave a game early, especially when I was a kid. And I think they were down 7 runs going to 9th inning, and they chipped away, and with 2 outs and the bases loaded, Dick Schofield hit a grand slam to win the game. And as a young Angel fan, obviously, I was super excited about that. Might have been 1986, somewhere around there, but it was an amazing memory because I was there with my brothers and just going crazy. Just a regular season game, nothing game. But then obviously a game that stands out, will always stand out, I'll never forget, was I was at Game 6, 2002 World Series for the Angels at home. I was just stoked they finally made the World Series, and we were down 3-2, and we were down 5-0. And I was just saying to myself, I know we're going to lose, but I don't care. At least we made the World Series, and I was stoked to be here. I was stoked to go to a game. Thunder sticks were out in full force. Everyone's wearing red. It was a sea of red. It was crazy. And then for some reason, the Giants took out their starting pitcher. It was like 5-0. They took out their starting pitcher. Dusty Baker walked out and took him out and gave him the game ball and said, you did it for us. You won the World Series for us. And he took the game ball and went into the dugout. And Scott Spezio hit a 3-run home run to make it 5-3, and got the crowd just going crazy. And the ball barely went over by like 1 foot. And for some reason, the right fielder went to jump on that short fence in right field, and he got kind of stuck by a fan or a fence, and he couldn't catch it. He would have easily caught it. And when out, it was 5-3. Angels were going nuts. It went into like I think the next inning, Darren Erstad hit a solo home run to make it 5-4. Then bottom of the 8th, Dusty Baker went to his closer, Rob Nen. Angels got a couple of guys on it. Troy Glaus hit, I think, a bases clearing double into the gap, and the Angels won that game. Obviously went on to win game 7, but I was at that game 6, and I felt like I was in heaven. I felt like I didn't want to leave. I was insane.
That when he took out Russ Ortiz, that was almost like the Blake Snell move when he took out Blake
Yeah.
Snell.
You just felt like Dodgers felt like we have a chance, right? And the Angels
Mhm.
felt the same way. We couldn't hit this guy. I don't know
Yeah.
why we couldn't hit this guy, but we couldn't. And they took him out, and everyone got kind of excited and thought, oh, well, at least it's not Russ Ortiz. At least it's not Blake Snell, right?
Yeah, and I remember watching that game too. That was an incredible game. I didn't know you were at that game. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And the 86 reference, that was back when it was a football stadium when they actually had center field
Yep.
bleachers.
Yep.
And so, and Reggie, I think it was Reggie Sanders who was in right field, and he got stuck by the fence. He came up and
Yeah.
it hit him on the side. He
Yeah.
didn't
The fans were
anticipate.
right there, like banging their sticks, and they're hitting him.
Yeah,
You know, and he like goes to catch it, and he gets hit by the fence, and he can't
Yeah.
reach his hand up, and it just barely goes over into like the first row.
Yeah.
I was like, oh well, 5-3. You never know.
Yep.
It was just destiny. It was just their year. I mean, that was their
year. Yeah. I've got two, actually, funny enough, they both happened at Anaheim Stadium. But I'll tell you one that when I was watching I'll never forget where I was, the smell of the room, everything, when Kirk Gibson hit that home run in 88, by the way. I can tell you exactly what I was eating, exactly what I was drinking at the time. I was almost 13 years old, and I just went crazy. And so that was awesome. But two of my favorite experiences that I'll remember. The first was my very first game ever. My stepdad took me to Anaheim Stadium. My mother I was like 6 years old, and all of my friends were, so it had been about 82. And all of my friends were like getting signed up for Pop Warner and things like that. And I told my mom, I said, I want to play football. And she says, no, football's too violent. Like, so my dad arranged to take me to a baseball game. And about the 6th inning, it was a day game at Anaheim Stadium. About the 6th inning, ground ball to third base, and I can't remember who was running down line, but it was an Angel that was running down line. The shortstop throws into the runner. The guy goes to grab it. The first baseman goes to grab it, and he clotheslines him. And as he clotheslined him, as the guy was going down, somehow or another, he kicked him with his spike across the face. So we got one guy with the cut cheek, and we got another guy that just got clotheslined. And they both had to get taken off on a stretcher. And I looked at my dad and I said, I can't play football because of this. This sport is less violent than football. And so that was one. And number two, I referenced it last week, but number two, I watched when the Cubs were playing the Angels in an interleague game, and Greg Maddux was pitching. And it was towards the end of his career. But to watch Greg Maddux pitch live, I don't care who you're a fan of. You watch Greg Maddux pitch live, he was a master at his craft. And I felt like every time the catcher would put his glove there, Greg would just hit that glove without even trying. It was ridiculous. And it was so much fun just to watch a masterwork. And he didn't have overpowering stuff. He was at the end of his career. But I think he pitched against the Angels. And I want to say the Angels maybe got 3, maybe 4 hits and didn't score any runs off of them after 7 innings. It was just, that was fun for me to watch, because being a true purist when it comes to, offense sells tickets, defense wins games type thing, Greg pitched fantastic. And so I enjoyed that experience. I remember where I was sitting. I was sitting in the second deck right behind home plate, and I could see where the ball was. It was pretty awesome. So anyways, this has been fun. So for you top fans that are watching this, I hope you enjoyed it. It's just a bunch of guys talking as we get closer and closer to the season. As we get into the season, it'll be a lot more exciting for us to tell you some more about what's going on. Hope you enjoyed the transactional talk. Let's see what happens with the season. Hopefully we don't have a stalemate with anything and we can go forward as planned. But feel free to subscribe to the website, go to the site, and feel free to give us your email address and subscribe there as well. Thank you. Have a good evening.